Guys, Pest and Lawn Ginja here, and this is my lawn. Today I want to talk about shallow root recovery, and this week my focus is just helping rip out the shallow roots so I can make way for the new rhizomes to push through in my Kentucky bluegrass. Let's check it out. Now, as you guys can see, these infamous tracks that I have are still here. So I noticed my color was being clouded by dead grass, even more of it. And I attribute this to the power rake that I did. What's happening is it's hitting a lot of the shallow roots. Now, if we look at this, it dug up a lot of the surface. And this stuff I really don't care about so much with the damage because I want the roots going down. All right, guys, now that we know that the shallow root syndrome is our issue, we've got a couple of choices here. We could leave it and just aerate and overseed in the fall and then pray next year that it's going to get better. Or we can take the hard way out and we can use the thatch rake, thin through that crown, and really just pull the stuff that's sitting on top. And personally, I feel like that's the best way to do it because we really want to establish some hardy grass. Now, there's going to be some controversy around this. A lot of people like the thatch layer. They like to leave it there. But I find that personally, at the mountain climate that we're at, these roots are just going to keep curling back upwards towards the surface. They're going to wait on top, waiting for the water. So you really have to have daily water to sustain. So part of my cloudiness at this point is due to the dead grass just kind of sitting there. And I'd rather just take it out and leave with the good grass. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start scraping it out. It's not a very fun job, but hey, somebody's got to do it. We've had 2 years of this lawn being like this and growing upwards, and it's time to get it fixed. Now I'm going to use the thatch rake to really get into the thatch. My shallow roots, what I've discovered is they're really bad. So the roots are literally just sitting on top, just kind of turning on top of each other, and they're not going down. Now at this point, I don't feel like the roots are gonna head the opposite direction. So a lot of the brown haze that I discovered is coming right off the top. And when we start pulling this matter out, the biggest problem that you'll see is even the live grass is starting to act like stolons instead of rhizomes. So attached to it, you'll notice the root ball, and they're just sitting so shallow they're really not going down. So I wanted to bring you through this area. It's about 6 feet by 3 feet, and I really just wanted to show you what I'm talking about here. We get into the grass and it's roots. And it's not like I'm ripping through the roots and breaking it off. All these roots are sitting on top. They're not going down. I've taken enough soil plugs through this whole patch to know. And yeah, this one's a little bit more live than I would have hoped. I'll show you the other layers that I've completed, but there's a significant amount of dead grass in here as well. But as you can see, roots. Now, once we start going over the live, you can see how much more green it is, and it's pretty healthy for the most part. I've got a couple of signs of overwatering, and since this has happened, I've dialed it back. And if you guys have watched the other episodes, we hit it with a little nitrogen. Now, when we get in here, you can see a little bit of soil now instead of just dense roots. And the color's nice, the iron's coming through. I've got a little bit of red thread, and this is kind of funny. I've never really seen this in Utah. Well, I've only seen it a handful of times in Utah, but red thread is not common at our altitude. It's been exceptionally humid this year. But the color is starting to look better in this region now that I've removed this. Now, if we go over here and look at what I've just removed earlier, there's not as much live that you would think, but there is just a ton of roots sitting on top. Now, I'll have to overseed some of these areas that I've kind of scalped out, but there was a couple of problem areas that were almost shocking to see because it was overlapped so bad. Now the rest of the lawn doesn't have this kind of a problem. Color's starting to come in really, really well. I'm actually pretty happy with the color. So more often than not, I get asked, especially by my neighbors, they'll say, man, the color looks so good, you've got that fixed up, but at the end of the day, you can see this track behind me. The lawn's still not healthy, and it's gonna come back to haunt me if I don't fix it right now. So that's why I'm gonna keep going. All right, my friends, it's been about 10, 12 days since my last confession on my lawn. So I decided I wanted to grow it out. I kind of wanted to see where our progress was, but I had a few bits of melting out and leaf spot fungus I wanted to push out. So what I'm seeing here, guys, is progress. I'm actually pretty excited about this. The track on the right side is actually starting to grow similar to the rest of the grass. This track on the left side, though, it's still really bad. As I showed you before, I scraped it pretty hardcore with the Thatch Rake, which helped out significantly. Keeping in mind I haven't mowed for a couple of weeks, this whole process of the shallow roots is really frustrating. The problem that we're facing is the roots just don't want to go down, and it's fighting the watering that I'm giving it, which is once every third day, and well, about 3 times a week. The one thing I wanted to show you, though, this is how bad it is. So this spot right here was green until I power raked it, and you can see how shallow these roots are. The roots, literally nothing in the soil going down, but they're all just sitting right on top. But again, the focus is to get the grass green and to actually shoot those roots down. So I'm gonna stay my course on 2 to 3 times watering a week right now. It's 100 degrees, but you can see, I don't really care about the brown grass. I need those roots to grow deep. And this is how we manage shallow roots. We've just got to force them down. Overall, I want you guys to take notice from episode 1 to episode 5. The color that we're getting in here is phenomenal. We got that dead grass out, it's starting to grow, and the best part is some of these dead spots that we have going on are starting to push rhizomes and new blade growth, which is the most exciting part about the Kentucky bluegrass that I have. As you can see right here, this whole patch was dead, and now we've got new shoots that have come up that are thickening this up automatically without me having to do anything about it. So I ended up growing the grass out for a couple of reasons. If you guys have seen the previous episodes, you know that started out with this lawn, it was completely bone dry. But one of my biggest problems was the shallow roots, and I've got to fix that. So we dialed in the watering. I had to water daily and flush in about 8 to 10 inches of water to keep up with evaporation so I get a 6-inch base reservoir. Now that I've got the watering under control, I kicked it back to every third day, and I'm focusing on getting about 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 inches of water a week because my region's been about 100 degrees, and that's how I'm going to be able to keep up with evaporation. So I ended up growing the lawn out like a jungle. It's sitting at about 5 inches at this point. I'm gonna mow it down to 3, but I ended up with a melting out leaf spot fungus from the overwatering. And the best way to control it is just to grow the grass tall and then chop the top layers off of the fungus. This fungus is a little bit interesting because the fungal spores end up getting spread by lawn mowing. You can see on the left I've got a little bit of red thread, and as you get further right you can really see that melting out fungus. Hello. So the last time I mowed, I had a sneaky suspicion that the mower was cutting too short, or it wasn't allowing me to get my Kentucky bluegrass to 3 inches where I like it. I normally had a riding mower which to get to 3 inches or 3.5 inches was about a level 4, but I like to see what reality is, so let's go check it out. So I'm going to measure this a couple different ways. I want to see what the deck height is doing around it. And it looks like we're just above 3 inches here. We come in the middle. We're just above 3 inches. And at the end, it looks like we're just above 3 inches. In the front, I'm sitting almost to 4 inches. And then what I want to do is just prop the back open here real quick so we can measure where the blades are hitting. I'm just going to grab this 2x4, stick it in the chute area. And I just have a little dowel that's about 4 inches. It's going to allow me to kind of get in here and check the mow height. And I'm going to go on the lowest portion of the blade and see where we're at. Which we are sitting about this far. Which tells me we are exactly at about 3 inches. So I was completely wrong. The mow height is just fine. So I'm gonna get to mowing. So this is my third bag, and I want to show you guys the grass is practically bleeding green. This is a really good sign. The grass is really healthy. It's got a lot of nutrients in it and not just a ton of forced growth. So guys, it's really important to remember I just moved in this house about 5 weeks ago and somebody's winning. I mean, it looks real green. I mean, if you look at it, everything's looking really good. I think the mycorrhiza is kicking in. The micronutrients are really playing a role. The grass is starting to get that emerald look like bluegrass should. So I'm really happy with this over 5 weeks. I've got to be a little bit patient on myself. You can kind of see this haziness here. That's from the shallow roots, but that's all going to go away with time. So for those of you who haven't been following my channel for very long, these last couple of weeks have been in the mid to upper 90s. I did a power rake when it was 92 degrees outside. This last week we finally got into the hundreds. And to do what I'm doing when it's hot, a lot of people say you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. It's gonna overstress the lawn. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm winning, it's working. And this is why I wanted to show you guys this. I believe a lot of these things that people say are people who don't do, they just say. So if your lawn is struggling as bad as this one was, it's worth the gamble. I'm not saying that you're not gonna run into some stress issues, because you absolutely will, but you're gonna have stress from too much dead grass, or you're not gonna allow the rhizomes to kind of shoot up and thicken it up naturally if you have too much dead grass in there. Anyway, guys, really appreciate you guys following me. If you like my videos, like what I do, don't forget to share, hit the like button, and subscribe. Have a good day. Until next time.